Hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Nielsen.
Hello.
That's Eric Nielsen.
We're on 3 different
We're
cameras.
in 3 different places, so bear with us.
Each camera is framed a little bit
differently. So, I grabbed him because I wanted him to be able to talk about like dads and holding the space. Honey, you're hung up on that cord right there. Look down. Sorry, hang on one second.
Okay.
That's better.
Yes.
There we go. So I wanted to have like dad's perspective because I think holding the space is a big deal. In fact, we've done this training program before. It's like a free video, and maybe we'll have to do it again this summer, called Straight Talk About Your Kids' Bad Behavior. And often when we're doing that, what comes out is that the bad behavior is always tied to mom and dad.
Yes.
Like always. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program. So stick with us. I actually have a couple of things. One, if you, because we're closing tomorrow, the doors close to Thinking, Feeling, Willing tomorrow. Not sure when we're reopening. Yes, we'll launch it again, but I'm not sure when. So it will be later this summer, but y'all don't want to wait because you really need to get started planning your school year now. So if you are somebody who's been like praying and hoping and figuring out to the universe, I need a miracle, just know that Eric and I are praying for your miracles too, because when that happens for you and you're open for it, then you can come and we can help you work miracles in your life with your schooling and with your partner and with your parenting and all of that. So please know that we are there ready to help. Like I said, it closes tomorrow night, but I want to say this. For anybody who pulls the trigger and decides to purchase while we're talking, we'll be on here for probably 45 minutes or so. During our call, I have something extra special that I'm going to send you. It's secret. Secret. So, okay.
Some of our office you don't normally see.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at that. You see this? There's this, for anybody who likes Pacific Rim, any dads watching, Eric, that's Eric's side of the desks right there. So you see little bits of the office. So what is Thinking, Feeling, Willing? So yes, it is a way to get all of your Waldorf homeschool curriculum in one place. There's that. But that's like this much of Thinking, Feeling, Willing. Really, it's like this much of it. So Eric and I are marriage and parenting coaches, and I've been a homeschool curriculum coach for more than 10 years. And so a long time. And we have 5 children. We're a blended family. My older 3 children are from my first marriage, and Sam and Soraya, the younger ones, the ones that you see all over our Insta stories, are from this man here. So, but he's actually adopted some of our adult children. So, yeah, he's the dad. He's the dad. So we've been at this a long time, and we've worked with thousands of families, a lot of families over the years. And so what we teach is stuff that we know, that we back up with, like, well, we're doing it every day, and we're doing the things that we recommend are things that we do. We don't tell you to do anything that we don't already do. Somebody will ask me, hey, what about X, Y, and Z? I'll say, you know what, I don't know anything about that, so I can't give you an opinion. We only talk about things that we do. So I want to talk about our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program, and then we're going to talk about holding the space. So don't go anywhere. If you are a Thinking, Feeling, Willing member, feel free to chime in and chat about how much you love your membership. And if you have questions, you're welcome to drop me a DM if you're on Instagram, or a PM if you're on Facebook, or drop me an email, melissa@waldorfessentials.com. I'm happy to help you. So again, it is a way to get your Waldorf homeschool curriculum, but that's about this big of it, that much of it. We also provide training, and the reason why our training is different is because homeschooling is different from being in the school. Much different.
And it's different depending on who you are.
Absolutely, because we talk so much about like how you show up and who your, hi Linda, who your, what your temperament is and the work you're doing on yourself. So all of those pieces determine then, how you show up. And we're actually, tomorrow's training is called Understanding Authenticity. And so you'll want to join us for that. That's at noon Pacific tomorrow. But let's go through what's in our Thinking, Feeling, Loving program, because it's pretty amazing. There are 17 modules, and I call them mom lessons.
And I think it's good to say, too, it's important to say that this has been developed over a decade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we opened, the first time we launched, it was 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I started Thinking, Feeling, Willing was because I found that in my coaching practice, I was saying the same thing over and over again. I was sending people the same, somebody would say, I don't know how this song goes. And so I would record it and send it to them. Mm-hmm. And then I have 10 more people ask the same question. Or where's the best place I can find a YouTube video for learning how to knit? And I would be like, well, how about I just teach you?
Yeah.
So there were things that I was doing over and over and over again. And so I had this spiritual prompting, you should put all this in one place. So it started on a blog that was password protected 7 years ago. And it was teeny. And I had to change the password every month because some people that aren't very savory would hop on there and then share the password on some Facebook group. And then everybody would have it. And so we had many incarnations, and I actually really love where we are right now. We just rebuilt the membership part of our site with a company called Kajabi, and they are really robust as far as what they can do for our students, and I love it because it also means that we have an off Facebook support group. So all of the moms that don't really want to be on Facebook, they're loving it. At first I thought, well, I'm just gonna say that we're just opening this. But what I've noticed is that people are diving deep. The Facebook end right now is dead. There's not a whole lot going on over there. Everybody is in the new support group that we created. And so super happy about that. I'm super happy that it is so full. So I love that aspect of it because you have hundreds of moms that are on the same path as you and that have either walked it or they're still walking it. And we have a lot of seasoned moms in there, a lot of brand spanking new moms in there, moms that are just learned about Waldorf yesterday and jumped on board, moms that have been doing Waldorf all the time, moms that have little tiny kids, moms that have adult children. So it is a true community of people that are going in the same direction. And there's actually a dads section in there that we're gonna get up and going soon. Erica's gonna be hopping in there more, and we're hoping that we can get some dads in there because really and truly, this is not just mom's job. I think that often it's seen as just mom's job, but there are a lot of things that come up, like holding the space, like we're gonna talk about today, that really dad needs to be involved in. And then he's going to do way different than mom does. And so we really wanted a place that was comfortable for everybody. So we have that. So we have this great support system, but we also have these modules. And like I said, they're called the Mom Lessons. So if you've heard about them on the internet, I have a lot of people that send me a message and go, I just want to know, how can I get just the Mom Lessons? And I go, it doesn't work that way. It's a whole big program. And the reason being, there's much more than just the mom lessons. So there's the mom lessons, and then we also do regular training like this one that we're doing tonight on holding the space. Is something that happens for those members on a regular basis. We also have weekly office hours where you can come and just get help from me, and it's we do them over Zoom, and that's just like an online video conferencing. You can hop in there, ask me your questions, and I can answer them. Sometimes it'll just be you and I, sometimes it'll be me and 4 other people, but the idea is that I'm there, I'm answering questions. You have access to me. You also have access to me on the support group, and you can also email me if you need to. So it is, I'm very much involved in it, and I'm very much there to help moms. The other great thing is we also have leaders across the United States and hopefully soon across the world. And they have taken on this mantle of responsibility where they have, they speak for us in the areas that they're in. We have a leader in Florida. We have 2 leaders in Colorado. We have a team set of leaders in South Carolina. We have a leader that covers Indiana and Kentucky. And we have a leader in Salt Lake City, Am I missing somebody? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Yes, I am. Detroit.
Oh,
Detroit. And so we have leaders all over the United States, and we're actually, our dream is to have leaders in every state, on every continent, so that they can be me when I'm not there, when I can't be with you. The other great thing is I have this this desire to go and be able to be with those groups, so that then we can interact, and it gives you an opportunity to have to have somebody whose feet are on the ground there, who knows her stuff, and who's been trained by me, who knows what they're doing, not just in the curriculum realm, but in the coaching realm too. So we have a coaching program that we are working on that will be a requirement for all of our leaders from here on in. And so I want them to be able to bring you what I can bring you. And it's great if it's one-on-one and personal. So if you're interested in any of those leaders, drop me a note. I'm happy to set you up. Okay, so our mom lessons. I promise to stay on track this time. So the first one is rhythm. There's a whole, if you've ever struggled with rhythm, or you don't even know what in the heck rhythm is, we will get you sorted. Rhythm is the first lesson. The Waldorf curriculum is the second lesson, and that goes into reading Steiner, understanding what he meant for each of the grades, all of that. Inner work, which is this vast thing that so many, it's so big, but inner work, it encompasses a lot of things. It also encompasses temperament, which has a mom lesson of its own, because temperament can be so confusing, I think, sometimes for people to understand. We have a mom lesson on handwork, so learning all the ins and outs of handwork and patterns to practice on. Music, we have a mom lesson on music, teaching you, we actually provide the Music Unfolds curriculum that I co-wrote with Kimberly Parsons a year ago, and it goes through from kindergarten to 3rd grade, teaching you how to read music, teaching you how to teach your child. It's actually really beautiful. We have a mom lesson on form drawing, understanding form drawing, all the forms, all of them. So you have a wealth to pull from as you're going through your curriculum and through your grades. We have a mom lesson on planning, where our Planning for Peace journal, and that course is part of that. So we teach a course on planning that starts the first part of May this year and will go all the way through September, and I will walk you through every single step on what you need to do to get ready for the school year. So that's part of Thinking, Feeling, Willing. Painting and drawing, we teach you how to paint and draw the Waldorf way. Modeling, we teach you modeling indications for each year, sort of how they change and what materials to use, that kind of thing. We go through festivals, the Waldorf festivals, and the great thing about the support group now and having this all together is that, maybe there's a festival that you really want to celebrate, but you want to know how other people are doing it. You hop on the support group and say, hey, what are you all doing for Michaelmas? And then you'll get everybody's answer for what they're doing, so you can pick what works for you. So that's what's so lovely about having the support group. We have a lesson on learning how to write your own curriculum. So it takes you through all of the steps of what you should be thinking about. I definitely don't recommend that you do that your first year out. I recommend that you get your feet wet a little bit and learn and spend some time understanding the recommendations and why they are the way they are. But that's a really robust program in itself. It's a course in itself, and it's part of the mom lessons. And with that course, we go through not just Steiner's recommendations, but I also take the government standards for the United States, the Common Core, and I talk about how you can meet those things within Steiner's work, and give you notes for all the grades that I have taught and everything. We have a lesson on schooling several children, a lesson on creating circle time creation, because that can be it baffles people sometimes, and I go, it's okay, calm down, it's not a big deal, I promise, just sing, it'll be fun. So that's another course in itself, but it's great. It's in the mom lessons. There's 136 songs that I sung. Remember when I was recording all those songs? Oh my gosh, I didn't want to talk for 2 days afterwards. Don't talk to me. Recorded a lot of songs. And they're not all in perfect pitch, but they're all recorded, so you know the tunes to them. So you have all of that there. We just added reading, writing, and spelling the Waldorf way. This last winter, fall, we added that one. What else do we have? We have, our Thrive program, which actually tonight's little lesson comes from our Thrive program. The whole idea of holding the space, we have a whole section on how moms and dads can hold the space within our Thrive program. And it is warm in here. Sorry, y'all, it's hot.
Lights.
We would have it, the lights, plus it's already warm today. We would have the fans on, but then you wouldn't be able to hear us. So, what other one am I missing? I think I got them all.
I think so.
I think I got them all. I do have one in the works that's sort of back here in my head that's not, I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I'm planning to do a whole mom lesson on sleep. How many times do we counsel people on sleep? A lot. We talk a lot about sleep. So within that, you also get my dear friend Siglinda DiFrancesca, who is the owner of Teach Wonderment and the writer of the Dancy of Gnomes series. You get her her downloads for the coloring with block crayons. Sorry, that momentarily left my head. So you get that, so you learn how to color with block crayons, and it's a lot of fun. Let's see, what else do you get? You can get instant access to just about everything in our store. So yeah, I think, and you get it for life. So you pay one time, and somebody was asking me this today, do I have to buy it for every student? No. You buy it one time, it's per family. You buy it one time, and it lasts you for the whole thing. It's a lifetime program. You have lifetime access to it, and there's no set time that you have to do things. It's self-paced, but we do sort of keep you going. We only launch it a couple of times a year now. We used to have it open all the time. What I found myself doing was spending a lot of energy catching people up every time. And so now we do it a couple of times a year so that I can onboard everybody at the same time. We can get started at the same time. I can get you all going. Are you gonna yawn? He's been out with children all day.
Yeah.
And he came home and I was like, hey, I think you should do this video with me. And he goes, okay, I'll go change my clothes. And it's warm in here.
Well, we drove all the way to...
He went to Mexico today to get a piñata. I had to show this piñata.
I didn't buy that in Mexico.
Oh, you didn't, but it was by Mexico. I don't think anybody's seen it. It's a gigantic cactus.
Soraya's afraid of piñatas, and so I guess...
Piñatas? You mean cactuses?
I mean, cactuses. So that's what she picked.
It was her birthday on Monday, and so we are having a gigantic party with everybody except for y'all. Kelly needs some prayers. Our assistant Kelly was on her way here, and she stayed in Vegas last night, and somebody stole her car. So she's not coming here. So that part I'm sad about, but I'm more sad about the fact that somebody stole her car.
Yeah.
She has to turn around and go home. It's super sad. So if y'all are praying, people, pray for Kelly and her family. I just can't believe that happened. But the piñata is for this giant party. My mom's coming. Eric's parents are coming. All of my adult children are going to be there for Soraya's 8th birthday party. So that's Friday. It's going to be very busy.
I left the country today. I came back.
With 2 small children.
And now I'm live on...
Did you guys get churros today?
No.
Did they ask you for churros?
No.
They didn't? This churros is my thing.
No, they didn't ask me for that.
I like to go to Mexico just to get churros because we're that close. The Border Patrol guys are always like, why'd you go to Mexico? I said, to buy churros. And they're like, are you kidding me, lady? Nope, not kidding you. See my churros?
I had other things I was doing there.
Yeah.
And then I got interrogated on the way back home, and then I'm here.
Interrogated.
They want to know where I was born.
Yeah, anyway.
Before I could come home.
Yeah, that's fun. So, anyway, I am going to get to our talk tonight. Thank you all for listening to our antics. It is warm in here, though. I think that's all with regards to our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program. Oh, except for those of you who like hard copies, now hard copies are included. Absolutely included. And so when you're ready for, and we recommend you not order them all at once. Somebody says, please do a video about the pragmatic parent and the melancholy child. Oh, the phlegmatic parent and the melancholy child? We can do that. We actually just did...
Or pragmatic.
Oh, okay, pragmatic. Yeah, it does say that. We will cover that when we do our melancholy. We're going to do a melancholy on Monday, this coming Monday. Mm-hmm. This coming Monday.
Yep.
This coming Monday at 6 a.m. Pacific, right here. So, what was I saying? I'm sorry. So hard copies are included now. So when you are, we recommend you don't order them all at once, and this is why. Every now and again, we will update them, and you only get one. So you can't order grade 1 and then be like, oh, wait a minute. So I try to be like open when I know that we're doing an update window. So I would order just what you need for the year. That's kind of our rule. You can order Planning for Peace journal every year. And so you always have a fresh new one, which is the idea, so that you use it. So anyways, now let's talk about holding the space.
Yes.
But I will remind you, special awesomeness for those who buy during our video tonight. Presents from me. Okay.
Okay.
Holding the space.
Holding the space.
Do your kids like, this is the best way for me to explain holding the space. Everything's going nice, nobody's fighting, and then the phone rings and you pick it up and you start talking on it. And then everything goes to hell in a handbasket. That's because your energy went away. Mm-hmm. So holding the space is about like your energetic presence. And that's not something woo-woo, because everything is energy. That's like scientific. So when your energy is withdrawn from that space of like being with them, they feel it. And because they're little people and they don't know how to articulate it, it often comes out in like punching their brother, or somebody falls, or the dog throws up, or like everything's like goes crazy.
And sometimes they do something that you would have never thought any human mind would comprehend that would be a thing to do.
There are rules that I have made in my parenting that I thought to myself, I cannot believe these words are coming out of my mouth. Like,
and we won't embarrass anybody today.
No,
but
we won't.
You can all probably think of something.
Oh yeah. We have 5 children. There's never a dull moment in our house, and there have been times when I have said, I can't believe I had to just tell you can't do that. Why would you do that to begin with? But you know, being able to laugh at yourself as a parent is I think a recipe for a happy life. So make sure you laugh at yourself enough. But holding the space is this concept that when you are energetically present, and that means it's not just your body's there, because you can't be on your phone and hold the space. You can't be deep into a novel and hold the space. You can't be listening to a podcast and holding the space. Holding the space means that you are energetically present. Doesn't mean you have to be playing with them, because moms will say to me often, like, do I have to play with my kids all day? I'm like, hell no, you don't have to do that. No, don't do that. In fact, that sets them up for failure, I think, when you're constantly playing with them. You have to give them that space to understand how to play.
Yes.
And I think that often children, if they've had too much media, and that too much media for one child is nothing to somebody else, but certain temperaments, if they've had too much media, then they kind of forget how to play, and you have to sort of go on a media diet and remind them how to play.
Well, one of the biggest indications to me is when it's time to turn that off, and there's anger.
There's anger.
Then it's
tantrums.
Like, okay, that's an indication that they had way too much. If they're that mad about it. And so, I mean, that's when I know. I mean, there's other things that tell you they've had too much, and there's certain rules of thumbs that's good to follow.
Absolutely.
But if it's, okay, you got 5 minutes and it's off, and then 5 minutes passes and it goes off, and they're like, like that, then it's like, okay.
And I think there's a couple of things to remember with the time warning.
Yeah.
So like, one, children don't really understand the passage of time until they're in about 2nd grade. And so 10 minutes to a 5 or 6 or even 7-year-old is not the same thing as 10 minutes to you or I.
No.
And so you want to be really careful about, usually would say it's going to go off when this episode is over, or, or something along those lines, so that you are giving the expectation. And if it's time, if it's a child that can understand the passage of time. But I have seen older children have tantrums, and I go, excuse me? What was that all about?
I mean, then you have things like Netflix, where if you're saying it's okay to watch this.
I have a tantrum about Netflix.
You can watch this and then it needs to be done, and then it's like, if you're busy, that starts up again, the next one, and they're like,
well, because Netflix is really crafty. In 13 seconds, another episode is playing. So you want to be careful. If you are using media at all to help you get something done, and that I'm not a proponent of that like at all, I would say figure out a way to get it done with them, have them come and help you for sure. But I know that the reality for some parents, as they are stepping away from media more and more, is that they are using it at certain periods of the day. So here's the thing, most children's shows last between 17 and 22 minutes. Look at how long it is. It's a great little, like, when you push pause, it'll tell you how many minutes are left. So then your job is to set your watch or to pay attention. And if you're using the TV as a babysitter for 12 minutes, then you go get everything done that you need to get done in 12 minutes and come back and be present. Being present is super important.
That's a good point too.
This mom Caitlin says, my daughter doesn't get mad when we turn it off or take away the screens, but definitely doesn't know how to keep herself entertained. So I think that, Caitlin, is she an only child? I think there's definitely differences when you've got, because we have 5 children, so we don't have the only children situation, but we have gaps, big gaps between the last 2 for sure. So there were definitely periods of time when it wasn't working for one child to play with the other. And so, those children had to learn how to, she says yes, one and done. They have to learn how to sort of entertain themselves. There are lots of things that I would consider. Our youngest loves handwork, and she has for a long time. She loves painting and drawing. And so I have always had those materials out for her. Like she's been painting since she was probably 2 or 3. Like by herself on her own. She can get the paper. She has a paint palette, and we actually have a video on, art supplies for young children. So if you need it, I can hook you up with that. But she can go get it herself. She knows how to rinse her paintbrush and all of that, and gets it herself and paints on her own. So I have left those spaces open for her so that she can do those things on her own. She also likes to help. So, she'll find things to do that are helpful. Or if I need to be sitting at the table and it's not something that she can actually do to help, I will suggest something that she can do. Come and sit next to mommy. Why don't you go get your crayons and come and sit next to me while I'm doing this? You can do that. You're still holding the space because you're energetically there still. But where the problem begins is when you start to check out. And then not only do they not know how to entertain themselves and they're struggling with that, but then because they feel that energetic separation, they don't know what to do with it. And it's not just when naughtiness happens, it's when, accidents happen. It's when they start to fall apart. They're having a struggle because they need that energetic piece from you, at least until 7. Then it starts that sort of etheric bond starts to change a bit, but then they can't hold the space on their own until they're a teenager. And even then, certain temperaments are better at it than others. I think that's part of what we're teaching them. We're not raising children, we're raising adults. Because if we're raising children, we would just be teaching people how to be children. We're teaching people how to eventually be adults in a very developmentally appropriate way. So you want to be very sort of, a concerted effort, and you're deciding how to do it. I do want to say moms and dads hold the space differently.
Yeah.
Which is why he's here.
Well,
dads, I think often dads will rely on, at least in our culture today, they'll pull out their phone.
Yeah.
So
and Lauren says, I have an only child and I can see this being an issue, and I see how easy it is for my kid to be occupied with other kids around.
Yeah.
Well, one example I can think of how we hold the space differently is I remember I was out running errands and I called you on the phone because we were discussing what I was trying to find.
Today?
No, like a while back.
Okay.
And I just had Soraya. Well, when I'm alone with her, she has this idea that when the car stops, she's going to unbuckle and she's going to get out of her seat. And she wouldn't do that to you, but I was talking on the phone, and the next thing I know, she's flipping over the front passenger seat, lands on something and breaks it, and you were like, why was she even doing that in the car? And it's like, I don't know, I was on the phone and she just does it. And
right. There are things that I think that there are things that children would never dream to do with mom, and there are things that they would never dream to do with dad. like ever. And that's just a testament to the strong bond you have with your children, that you and your partner have a different bond. And I actually really love that. I really love that if I'm holding the space with the kids and it's just us and we're not doing school and there's no media going, we're just hanging out, I'm likely just going to be sitting there knitting and they're going to be talking to me. We might be listening to a story. But if dad's holding the space with them, they're more apt to say, let's play a game, let's do, because he holds it differently and he brings a different energy to it. I think that to help dads get away from like, what do I do with them when I'm holding the space? Because we hear well, I'm babysitting, and I go, you're not babysitting. That is not what it's called when you're with your child. You're parenting.
Yeah.
So you have to like put tools in your toolbox. And I think that that's appropriate for mom and dad, because I think often moms also don't know how to hold the space. So they go, well, what do I do? They're just playing. That doesn't mean you should retreat into your phone, or because that's what happens is when you do retreat into your phone, that's when stuff happens. Even our children, who are pretty well trained, that if I'm on my phone, I try to hide. It's because I'm answering a work question. They're still going to be like, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom, like the little dog in those old cartoons.
Yeah, like those old Tom and Jerry.
Yes.
The big bulldog and the little one.
Like they need something when you're engaged, because they feel your energy gone. So Jenna says, so much yes. Ella loves to test her dad. He is struggling to hold the space as well as to find ways to connect and discipline. I think that you said two important things there, Jenna. I think when you connect, you don't have to discipline as much, because you're making that connection there. They will, if you have a plan, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, I planned everything out, like in my weird choleric way, like just a plan, like when I'm alone with the kids, we're gonna read books, or when I'm alone with the kids, we're gonna play Uno, when I'm alone, whatever it is. If you have a plan to enroll your child in, what it is that dad wants to do with them, then you won't have a discipline issue generally.
And later on, this is really funny, but later on when we had small kids and like teenager, almost adult kids in the house at the same time, and if you were gone, I would have the older kids take issue with how I was holding the space with the younger ones.
They would even text me and tattle on him. And I'll say, you know what, my job is to say, he's got it under control. I don't need to hear about it.
And sometimes they may have had a point.
We just had this recently where it was right before our launch, and we had a Disneyland day plan, because we live in Southern California. We had a Disneyland day plan, and I knew that was not where I needed to be. And so Eric took our old adult son and Sam and Soraya, and they went. And this is what I hear from Harry. She would not be pulling this if you were here. And I was like, okay, well, but I'm not, so it's okay. It's okay. So I think it's really important when your kids get older and they start to report to you, you just go, that's okay. I know he can handle it, or that's okay. She's got it under control, because the tattling is this divide and conquer thing that I think they do subconsciously without even knowing. And it goes back to my whole theory called Who's Got My Boob?
Yeah.
And the Who's Got My Boob theory is it doesn't matter how many children you have. It doesn't matter how old they are. They will always vie for your attention, Mom. Always. Like, I have watched it in adult children. Like, every time we're around all of your siblings, they only want to talk to his mother. They don't want to talk to anybody else. They don't want to talk to your dad. It's not just one person that wants to talk to your mom. They all want to talk to his mom at the same time. And so as your children become adults, you sort of see it. And it will be very interesting, because we have one child that doesn't want to talk to me at all right now, but it'll be very interesting when everybody else is trying to talk to me, if she actually wants to talk to me during that time period, because I think that there is this energy difference between mom and dad. And we live in this culture where they want to make everything the same, and everybody holds a different energy. And so, you kind of want to own that and be okay with that, and find healthy ways to express that. Find healthy ways to, have fun with your children. And I think often when dad's gone at work all day, I mean, you used to be that dad that was gone all day, you have to consciously think about, well, what are we going to do that's not like just a video game, or that's not like just a movie. You have to consciously think about, well, what is it that they would want to do? And what is it that what they would want to do with me that's different than what they're doing with mom all day?
Yeah.
What would you say, from a dad's perspective of like understanding the difference between like seeing it, palpably seeing it, what happens between when you hold it and when you don't?
There's a chaotic energy, and there's an energy of kids that aren't feeling secure.
Yeah, because then when they're not feeling secure, they tend to question everything.
Yeah.
And they tend to do things that they wouldn't do when they do feel secure. And I think there's just a few little tweaks. What would you tell another dad? Like if you had a dad say to you, so what are the secrets?
Yeah.
What would you say?
It's being present, being mindful, listening to what's going on around you, keying in on what their emotions are.
Right.
Keying into what things they're saying to each other and to you. Because then because what the message you're getting is, hey, I don't feel safe, or I don't know what's going on. I need to feel better. Especially like when they're younger, or when not necessarily that they're little toddlers, but when they're big enough that they start to wonder about the things around them. Today, Soraya, because we had to go pick something up.
I don't know what I was gonna say.
Well, today, when I had to pick something up on the other side of the border today. And
Eric goes to Mexico to get my blood pressure medication because it's cheaper there than it is here. It's not like this crazy deal.
No, I'm not doing something illegal.
He just goes.
And it actually is better stuff than like
it is better stuff.
So, in about once a month, sometimes we have dentist appointments down there and things like that.
We like Mexico. We go often.
We're walking to the border, and she's asking me all these questions that she doesn't normally ask, like what point are we in Mexico and what point are we in the United States?
That line right
what
there.
What happens if you have do you have passports? What happens if we don't have passports? Why do those people get to go in that line and we have to go in this line?
Yeah, because there's two lines. There's a line for foreigners, which would be us, and lines for Mexicans.
You just walk through and you don't have to talk to somebody.
Right.
But, on the other way, and no matter who you are, you have to answer a bunch of questions. But, and then we get to the other side.
He loves that part.
We get to the other side, and she's like, Dad, why don't the birds need passports?
That's a good one.
And I said, well, birds are more free than people are. And she got really quiet.
She's also, because she just turned 8, so she's thinking so much thinking. So much is going on in her head.
But that told me that she wasn't sure what was happening, and she wasn't sure of her surroundings.
So she was asking questions about her surroundings. If you had been buried in your phone, she probably would have acted up instead of asking questions.
Just zoned out, or just not paying attention, or ignoring her. Then it would have escalated to more and more things,
I think that whenever you're going to a place like that, because I think, that's kind of, it's not an extreme, but it's kind of like, most people aren't going to be like going to Mexico every day.
No.
But I think that when you're just out with kids, you have to think about where you're going, what you could encounter, and always have an exit strategy.
Well, I
always have an exit strategy.
I mean, I end up being the one that usually takes them to grocery store trips. Usually I'm the one that takes them.
Right.
And often we sit down and I
grocery shop for a lot of years. He can do it. It's all good.
And often I make, a Google Keep list with check boxes.
Right.
Because we've talked about what the menu is going to be for the week and what we need. And so I know what we're getting, and I'll get to the store and I'll say, look, kids, this is my list. This is what we're here to get. We're not here to get anything other than what's on this list. And then
I know Mom told me that you should put Nutella on the list. That only happened actually one time when I actually did ask him to put Nutella on the list. Yeah, but they milk it every time.
And so this is what we got to do, and we got to get what's on this list. I need you guys to help me.
Right.
And let's get this
because
done.
that helps them know. I think often in our adult minds, And I think that this probably is something that dad would struggle with more than mom, because we're with them all day and we take them places generally, except for in your case where you're home with them. Often dad's like, but I don't have to think about anybody else 5 days a week. And now I have to think about these other children, these other people. And I have to think about what things to worry about. But guess what? When you put thought to those things, then you don't have tantrums.
Yeah.
The first thing that I would say too, when mom gets ready to leave and hands off holding the space to you, dad, is the first thing you should say is, when was the last time these people ate?
Yeah.
Because if she forgets to tell you, you need to ask. Because if you don't ask, it's going to be, that should be the first thing you cue in on. When things start to fall apart, you need to go, y'all need a snack?
Hangriness or...
Yeah. I usually carry a fruit bar or applesauce or something in my bag.
And there's what we call the I'm thirsty monster, where it's just out of the blue, it's like, I cannot live.
The I'm thirsty monster is a real entity.
I cannot, I call it the I'm thirsty monster because it's like, I can't live another minute without water. Where's the water?
We have had children try to enact violence over the I'm thirsty monster. I'm like, hold up, you still got spit in your mouth? Calm down.
Another thing too, I would say is, Melissa and I, we do a lot of people watching when we're out.
We do.
And we live in this big city and there's lots of different people to watch. And I think one thing that happens is I see parents that are asking permission from their kids to do things.
That's a big hot button for me.
And then...
I just want to go, stop that.
Then once you've handed over, because there's holding the space, but then there's another element of when you hand over control.
Well, I do think there is a parenting method that and I'm not going to mention it here out of respect for them, but there is a parenting method where you give kids a lot of choices. And that's a really bad idea, I'm just going to say. Never give them a couple of things. Don't ever give them a choice that you wouldn't be okay with. Like, don't ever give a consequence that you're not going to follow through on, and don't give choices that you're not okay with. Don't go, you can have this candy or this candy if you really don't want them to have candy at all. And so you don't want to give too many choices, and be very firm in those choices. So, okay, I want to tackle this because I think this is a good one.
Yes.
So, how do I address the issue of not holding the space with your partner? It's difficult to sit on the sidelines and watch it all go down without overruling dad when he is in charge of the time. And then this mom says, I have to employ prayer for this so I don't undermine my husband and wait for a moment that feels right to bring up the topic or an invitation. Yeah, absolutely, Lauren, that is absolutely what one of the things would be that I would say. The other thing, I mean, here's the thing. Dad knows if it went to hell. You know, and I know, and so we're comfortable enough with each other to say, I think if they had eaten, that probably wouldn't have happened. And he's like, yeah, I know. Or he'll say the same thing to me. You know, they didn't eat.
What?
Or she probably could use a walk, because I may not be cued into it. I may be trying to be present, but I'm not completely present.
Once it fell apart and it's fallen apart, I call that when you do the crime scene investigation. It's like, okay, so this happened, and before that this happened,
right,
and before that this happened, and then okay, this is where it started to go, and I had an opportunity to correct it here, and I had an opportunity to correct it there, and I had an opportunity, and now here I am.
One of the things that we've gotten really good at saying to each other is, do you want to talk about that? Like after it's all happened? Because 9 times out of 10, he's like, no, because I know where it fell apart. Or I'll say, no, because I know where it fell apart. Like, because we're really good at that with each other. If not, if you're not in that place, I would absolutely say, honey, I saw what just happened. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want me to give you some input? If he says no, then you step away. The next time it happens, say it again. Would you like some input on that? I've really been working on holding the space, and I have these great coaches, Melissa and Eric, and they talk about holding the space all the time. Would you like to watch this video with me? I think that's a really good way, like, especially because Jenna, I know that you're a Thinking, Feeling, Willing member, so I would grab the Thrive videos on holding the space. I think that it's important to support your partner at all costs. The only time I would say step in is if your partner is hurting your child. Then you step in for sure. But that is not the case most of the time. If your partner's making you uncomfortable, that's not the same as hurting your child. You can absolutely have a conversation later. Like you could say, and I've never had to say this to Eric for sure, but you can absolutely say, you know what, I don't want you to ever talk to our child that way again. We're gonna have to have words about that. And then talk about it.
And not just when you say hurting, it's not just physical hurting.
No, it's emotional
hurting. They're saying
too.
like things that are like,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's something we've talked.
Yeah,
to
my
different
mouth
people
gets out of
about.
control sometimes. Everybody has a time when they need a timeout. What's great is when my mouth starts to go, Eric can hold me on the arm, like it's just gentle. Just take my arm, and then I can shut up and I walk away. And that's his cue. Like he's like, oh, need to step in here. I have also really been working on, like for the last 10 years on, because of my temperament. My temperament is like I could bark and it doesn't bother me. And somebody thinks I'm yelling and I'm like, I wasn't yelling. That wasn't yelling. I could yell for you though if you'd like. So I am really good at being able to say, this is going to come from you much better than it is for me. And it was funny because you said last week he talked to our adult son and he was like, Mom must be really mad if she sent you instead of me.
It wasn't last week, but it was like back when he moved in with us.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it got to where he knew that he had stepped in it big when it was me that had to do the talking
Right.
to him. Because
He knew.
you were like, I can't do this, you need to do it. And he's like, oh man, I really must have stepped in it if you're coming. And I
'Cause he-
wasn't mean or over the
No,
top,
because
but
you're the same temperament, but
it's
he
like,
knows
no,
that
it's time for you
if
to do it.
I have to go in and retcon something or clean something up, it won't be pretty. And so, yeah. But I also know what I shouldn't say because I'm a grown-up and I can pay attention to that. We're not gonna do any ads to live video today, but you are absolutely welcome to make a comment in the chat box and we'll read it for sure. Let's see. Chloe says, and ask real questions when no is an acceptable answer. I think it's really important that moms and dads talk about these things. I also think it's important that you talk about it when there's not a problem. So, if this is a brand new concept to you, then the things that you say might be, hey, I was listening to this video today, and this concept of holding the space really intrigued me. I know that like when you and I are in the room together, I can feel your presence. I think the kids can feel us too. Like open dialogue. Have a conversation about it. And instead of assuming that they know what you're talking about. If I say holding the space 9 to 10 people that don't know anything about Waldorf or anything about the work that we do, they would go, what are you talking about? So you have to sort of, front load that with I'm learning about something and I think it's really interesting and I've been trying it at home while you're gone all day, and what I'm finding is that when I'm trying it at home, it really works when I hold the space. So I was thinking that maybe you and I could talk about how to hold the space together when we're both home together and really sort of like coming at it from that way. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts for men that are like, I don't want to hear this? They should, I love this one. They should just listen to me. You're right, they should. However, they're not gonna. So, do you want to continue to beat your head against the wall, or do you want to actually do something that is productive?
There's a place that you have to find in yourself where you're willing to be humble about some things.
Yeah,
And
parenting is a humbling.
humbling with yourself
Yeah.
and your partner, and kids aren't just gonna listen because you're the dad. That would be nice, but that does not. If you think about when you were a kid.
Well, I was just gonna say, did that ever work for your parents?
If you think about when you were a kid, but
Anytime my mom said because I said so, I'd be like, oh, really? Lets me think about how that could not be.
and I would say if you're resistant to finding ways to hold the space and to be present and find ways to avoid conflict, you just compare what things are like now to what you'd like them to be. And that sometimes involves doing some things that are uncomfortable or sure that it does
Absolutely.
like mess with your pride a little bit, and that's not meaning you have to compromise on who you are or anything like that. It just means like there are certain things that if you want things to be a certain way, there's certain things that you have to do to make them that way.
Right, because I think, again, we're not raising children, we're developmentally walking through this path to adulthood. And you didn't learn just by somebody telling you one time. You learned by somebody systematically, either good or bad, teaching you over time. So you have to be willing to be in the space of teacher, not just homeschool teacher, but I think when a mom says to me, "Oh, I'm homeschooling," that whole family is homeschooling, not just mom. So it's something that is mom and dad and even grandma, sometimes everybody's involved in that. And so being able to talk about things and really truly communicate is what's so important about this path. And that's what helps you be successful, is when you're willing to step aside and go, I'm learning here. I'm trying to sort this out. Sometimes what I find when there's this going on with mom and dad about, learning, is if mom says, honey, you may have this parenting thing all figured out, but I don't. So I'm learning. That often takes dad off the hook, because then he can go, oh, see, here all this time I thought she knew everything and she doesn't know everything, and it's okay for us to both be learning together.
Yes.
Because I think often dads think, oh, well, she's with this child all day. She knows everything. She does all the reading. She knows everything, and I don't know anything. And really and truly, when you can both come to a place of, we're both learning. And I welcome you to read the stuff that I've been reading, and I'll come to you if you'll come to me. I think that that's really the healthiest place to be. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Do you think we covered it all? Do you guys have any questions? Totally happy to answer questions.
I think we're good, but there's plenty more to talk about. But we could be here all day.
We could be all day.
So we shouldn't be here all day.
We shouldn't, because we're going to have some hangry people if we're not careful. Again, this is this much of what we cover in our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program. If you have enjoyed this conversation at all, you should highly consider becoming a member. We have these kinds of conversations often, and I welcome them. Eric and I welcome them all the time. So this is what we do. So again, if you are going to become a member, and you become a member before I push the finish button on Facebook and on Instagram, I have something awesome planned for you. All right. See you guys later. Join us tomorrow, noon Pacific, for Understanding Authenticity. See you then. Bye.
Bye.